The upcoming general polls are just 2 months away, and this is the time when political parties spend significantly more than usual. And as the poll date approaches, they tend to tap into various sources of funds. And what are those sources? Well, one common source of funds is the application fee charged from individuals seeking party tickets. Over the past 13 years, this fee has made up about 19%, 33%, and 64% of the total income for the PTI, PML-n, and PPP respectively.
I personally feel that the fee they are charging already is not very unreasonable. For example, the largest amount a party has so far charged is about 200,000 rupees from a candidate for the National Assembly election and 100,000 rupees for the Provincial Assembly election. That is about pml-n. I'm not very sure about PTI, but PTI also charges about the same, I guess. People's Party has not publicly announced, but I came to know that they are charging much less, something around 40,000 or 50,000 rupees from each candidate. I think these are all within the acceptable range. Looking at that, 4 billion rupees are allowed to be spent in the national election for a National Assembly seat. So if one can have 4 billion rupees ready for spending on a national contest, 200,000 rupees is a very small amount. And political parties do need money to run their affairs, to fund their campaigns. So I think political parties, as long as this amount is very transparently disclosed, and this is included in the statement of accounts, I think the amounts which are being charged are reasonable, and I don't think any reform is needed. Only reform needed is that all the money which is paid by candidates or donors or contributors must be accounted for without any exception. And that, I think, is a question of implementation and enforcement of law. For example, we have election campaign fund which political parties gather. The law requires them to disclose each contributor or each donor who has donated 100,000 rupees or more. People who have donated less than 100,000, they need not be disclosed or identified. In my opinion, this is not right. They should identify any amount of money, because otherwise there will be a tendency that people who are paying 100,000 and they have to be disclosed, they will rather make two donations of 50,000 rupees at two different times, and to avoid getting disclosed or getting identified. So I think all donations and all contributions made to political parties should be identifiable.
This reliance on the ticket application fee may also explain the limited number of young candidates in the Pakistan's assemblies, especially those not from affluent backgrounds, find it challenging to make substantial donations to political parties.
There used to be a very popular way of funding political parties, and I think that needs to be again revived. And that is the fair way of raising funds for political parties, that is crowdfunding. I remember that in history books we have read that All India Muslim League, which ran the independence movement for Pakistan, they collected small amounts of money from all over the country through small donations which used to be sent through money orders to Muslim League President Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah at that time. So I think even in United States, Barack Obama went for crowdfunding, and that he used technology, people to remit money over internet to his fund. So I think young people who want to contest election and they do not have a lot of money, they do not come from wealthy background, they should not lose heart. After all, my personal experience is that if you approach people to contribute to your election fund, you will get a lot of sympathy and a lot of support. I've done that in students' union elections. I didn't have money to run for the Students' Union election. I asked my supporters to contribute. And I was very surprised that my number of contributors and my supporters increased because they had greater faith in me, because this person is not using any dubious sources of funding and he's collecting fund from us through small amounts of money. So I think people should resort to crowdfunding. They should ask their supporters to remit or send small amounts of money, whatever they can afford, 100 rupees, 50 rupees, 200 rupees, 1,000 rupees, whatever they can afford. And that could become a very important source of fund for these kind of do not have their personal wealth to support their politics.
Despite young voters constituting around 45% of the total registered voters in Pakistan, their representation among candidates from the top 10 political parties is only 19%. Even the PTI, often seen as a party of the youth, fielded just over 16% young candidates in the last election. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, who criticizes the aged leadership and advocates for youth representation, could only offer less than 17% young candidates out of a total of 727 in 2018. The pml-n performed even worse, with only 13% of young candidates out of 646 in 2018.
We have very good laws and rules already in place. But one, political parties and candidates are not aware of them. And secondly, the Election Commission, which has been charged to implement and enforce those laws, it does not end up enforcing them with completeness. I mean, I see most of the laws go unenforced. So these are two things which need to be addressed: awareness about the law and the enforcement of the law.